This is finding cube roots. A cube root of a number is a number that when multiplied by itself and then multiplied by itself again equals your given number. Calculators can be used to help find cube roots, as well as guessing and checking to figure out which number multiplied 3 times gives you the number that you're searching for the cube root of. So here we're looking for the cube root of 216. Notice when we write a cube root, we still are using this radical sign, but there's a little 3 tucked right into the corner of the radical sign there that tells us we're looking for the cube root of 216. So 6 times 6 times 6 will give us 216, so the cube root of 216 is 6. A perfect cube is when we find the cube root of a number and we get an integer as our answer. So since the cube root of 216 gives us an answer of 6, which is an integer, 216 is a perfect cube. So let's try some problems here. So we're looking for a cube root of 8. So a number multiplied 3 times that will give us an answer of 8. So 2 times 2 will give us 4, times another 2 will give us 8. So the cube root of 8 is 2. Now here I notice that I have a negative number that I'm trying to find the cube root of. So it's going to have to be a negative number that I multiply 3 times that's going to give me 27. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9, times another negative 3 gives us negative 27. So the cube root of negative 27 is negative 3. When we're doing the cube root of a fraction, I can do the numerator and the denominator separately. So 1 times 1 times 1 will still give us 1. So the cube root of 1 is 1. The cube root of 64 can be found by multiplying 4 times 4, which is 16, times another 4 is 64. So the cube root of 1/64 is 1/4. When you're cubing a number and finding a cube root, you're doing inverse operations, just like adding and subtracting are inverses, or multiplying or dividing, or squaring a number and doing a square root. Cubing and cube root are inverse operations, and we can use this relationship to evaluate expressions and solve equations involving cubes. So in this case, I'm trying to find the cube root of negative 216. Well, remember 6 times 6 times 6 was 216. So the cube root of negative 216 would be negative 6. So I've got 2 times negative 6 minus 3. Next I will multiply it, I'll get negative 12. And then I'll subtract my 3 and I get negative 15 as my final answer. The cube root of 125 is 5. 5 times 5 times 5 will give us 125. And then I'm cubing it again, which gives us 125. And then I'm adding on my 21, which gives me a total of 146. But I could have done this a little shorter because when I see cube root and cube, they cancel out. I could go straight to the 125 plus 21 and get 146 right away. All right, here we're being asked to evaluate an algebraic expression that involves a cube root by substituting in a value of x. So x is actually 192. So I'm doing 192 divided by 4 plus the cube root of 192 over 3. So in this case, I'm going to do some simplifying. 192 divided by 4 gives me 48. And 192 divided by 3 gives me 64. The cube root of positive 64 is 4. So 48 plus 4, my final answer here is 52. And here's our last problem. We're being asked to find the surface area of this baseball display case. So we know that the volume of the baseball display case is 125, and the volume is found by doing the length times width times height, which in this case, since it's a cube, are all the same, so we get 125. So this is basically the side cubed equals our volume of 125. So to undo that cube, I'm going to cube root each side, which cube and cube root here are canceling out, and the cube root of 125 is 5. So each side here is 5 inches, which means that a single side of this case is going to have an area of 5 times 5, or 25 inches squared. And since it's a cube, there's 6 of these sides. So if I multiply it by 6, I get for my grand total for surface area 150 inches squared. Sorry.